I'm Mo Rocca, and I'm excited to announce Season 4 of my podcast, Mobituaries. I've got a whole new bunch of stories to share with you about the most fascinating people and things who are no longer with us. From famous figures who died on the very same day, to the things I wish would die, like buffets. All that and much more. Listen to Mobituaries with Mo Rocca wherever you get your podcasts.
Inspired by the life of the savvy and ambitious Colombian businesswoman Griselda Blanco comes a new Netflix original limited series. Griselda tells the story of a devoted mother who, with her lethal blend of charm and relentless savagery, creates one of the most powerful cartels in history. Witness Sofia Vergara's captivating transformation into the godmother of the underworld. Griselda, now streaming only on Netflix.
Bernigan, 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 ABCs. Welcome to the Bare Naked ABCs, where we talk about every Bare Naked Ladies song from 7 to Y. And I am betting that I know how most of you people listen to us. That's right, guys, with your ears. Right, Jeff?
Yes, exactly.
That's
not
where I was going with that, right?
Any particular location that you might be referring to right now.
No, exactly. I mean, you listen to B&L with your ears, right?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Stefan, you listen to B&L with your ears.
Oh, absolutely. I use audio sensors. I listen to B&L with my beers.
But I'm usually driving. While I do this, though.
You're usually driving. So we have a guest.
Hey, I'm driving with my beers.
We have a guest with us tonight, Ali McBride. Where do you usually listen to B&L?
I usually listen to B&L in the car.
Oh, is that where you guys thought I was going with that?
No, not at all.
No.
Because that would be the song that we're singing tonight. So that would make total sense.
We're singing it? We have to sing now too?
No, we're not singing it. We're reviewing it. Did I say sing it? We're not singing it. I'm not singing it. No. Not unless you really want your ears to bleed.
You're not that bad, Truth.
You'd have to raise our salaries.
Unfortunately, we don't have Aaron this week, which is really sad. So I'll have to ask him later where this comes from. But, I mean, Stefan, do you know where this song comes from?
Yeah, Bare Naked Ladies. You have to be a little bit more specific with your questioning.
All right, fine. We'll play that game.
You want to take a stab at an album?
Do you know the album, Stefan?
Oh, the album.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Smart
based
ass.
on listen. Easy now. Based on listening to the thing, it sounds like Steven singing. So I'm trying to whittle it down to before he left.
Something pretty Mirrorball?
No, it's not Gordon. Was he in Maroon? Was Steven singing in Maroon?
He was around by Maroon, yeah.
He was, okay.
Not Maroon 5, but he was, yeah.
No? Okay. Well, in that case, I don't know, that's the only one I know that the song might possibly be on. Am I right?
Ali, can you correct him? What album was this on?
This would be from the album Stunt, which came before Maroon. And yes, Stephen Page was there.
Oh, cool. See, I didn't know that. Thanks for letting me know.
You're quite welcome.
So if you've never heard of this song before, here is a quick snippet. For anyone who's never heard this song before continuing with the rest of this podcast, if you've got children in the car, please make sure that you pause it and come back at another time.
But rest assured, we will make every attempt to keep it completely clean, like we always do.
She fed me strawberry and freezer burned ice cream. I said goodbye, I guess. She lifted up her dress, and so I must confess, we made up one more time before I left for good. She brought
did you just mouth stunt while she said that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
By the way, for the snippet, he played the one clean line from this song.
That's about right. That's what I had to pick out. It was very hard to find. I think it's just in the car. That's it. That's all I played.
Your kids could be listening.
They probably are not listening this week. No. As they were not listening to any of the times I listened in the car this week.
That's why I was surprised about the song. It was definitely real. But not...
It's very real.
You were surprised it was real?
No, I was surprised that it wasn't overly wholesome, as far as like PG-13 or less. But it's kind of a little bit more adult-oriented.
Oh, I still get to introduce you to some of the songs you've missed out on so far, Stefan.
Yeah? Oh, boy.
Given all that, Stefan, can you guess who wrote this song? There's only one possible writer. There's only one answer.
I'd say Steven, probably.
That would be correct.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Come on. That's awesome. Yay me. I got
Now,
one
interesting piece of trivia. This was one of the first songs that they wrote for Stunt, and he said it came out really easily for him. No pun intended.
Oh, cool.
It's great when you get a 5-second lag. You have to sit there and watch people and wait for them to react.
Yeah, this lag is weird tonight.
This
is unusual.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on.
The computer I'm using to record doesn't even have a camera, so you all can't see me, but I can see you.
Oh, no.
That was the creepiest thing ever, Ali. Thank you for that.
Oh, that's great. You get to watch us.
I'm in your backyard right now. Do you like scary movies?
So here's another really interesting fact about this song. This song was last played on February 5th, 2009 on Ships and Dips Tour. It has not been played since Steven left the band.
Huh.
Really?
Which is, it's odd.
That's kind of weird. Obviously, I guess, which is news to me that they've never played it post-Steve, Steven has played it several times during his Live at Home shows.
Oh, yes. It must have been like Steve's personal song almost.
It's a very Steve song, though. He wrote it solely. It's mostly Steve on vocals. Lyrically, it's a very Steve song. I can see that.
Yeah.
If this isn't personal to Steve, then he's an excellent story writer. Because I get the feeling that he is...
Which, to be fair, he is.
Well, that's true as well. But I definitely get the feel that this is him definitely talking about past experience. And
I think this is a true story.
There's a difference between being a great storyteller and then separating from a band, and the band refuses to play it for, 18 years? Well, no, 12 years? 11 years. Jesus. Can I even do math?
Yeah, close enough.
And then he sings the song on his own. So there's one thing between being a good songwriter and the habits of people and their behavior. That's
an excellent point.
As a side note, Tracy, do you know, are there any other songs you can think of that they have refused to play post-Steven?
Off the top of my head, no. But I know that we've covered ones that have extremely... Oh, whoops. Why am I so loud? All right, let me try moving again.
That's...
I just got a text from my wife. This is just not working for me tonight.
Is the yard available?
Hold on. Let me try one more try.
Can you hop down to PA for a little bit, Tracy? Will that work?
I might have to. Hold on.
The trailer's available.
What was that, Tracy? You did it in your car.
Podcasted in my car.
You could record it from the car to be authentic.
For those of you who can't see, we're doing a bathroom sessions version of this podcast tonight. Because Tracy can't get internet anywhere else in the house without waking his wife up. I don't know of any other songs that post-Steven they've absolutely not played at all, or at least tried. There are some songs, we just covered one a few weeks ago. I can't remember off the top of my head what it is now. They're all blurring together.
They played like one time.
They've tried it once or twice. Yeah, and then they're like, yeah, let's not do that one anymore.
Wasn't that I Live With It Every Day?
I think so.
I feel like you haven't played I Live With It Every Day very often either.
So why don't we talk about the song? Why don't we talk about the music? Yeah, Stefan, can you give us a breakdown?
What? Here's my breakdown. Well,
no, we don't.
As far as what do you want me to break down? I'm not very.
No, we don't. We don't have Aaron.
Stefan, we need the key. We need the key that it's in, the beats per minute, and we're gonna need all the chords. Go.
Okay, the chord is H, and the beats per minute is fast.
Lust for Life.
Is that?
That's
close?
About right.
Okay.
That's the first chord.
That sounds like the first chord.
What?
Yeah, that sounds like the first one. What is it?
A minor.
Guys, I can't carry a note strapped on my back.
A minor?
A minor, G, A minor, E, then it goes up to F, then it goes to D7.
Yeah.
So I got that far.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's pretty good, yeah. One thing that makes this song a little bit different is it does there's a pre-chorus.
Yeah.
So we've got a verse, a pre-chorus, and then the chorus, and then a verse, and then another pre-chorus before we get to the chorus. And then we get to then we get an instrumental break, and then we go verse, pre-chorus, chorus again. Well, see, I always say that second one's more of a pre-chorus because it changes.
Yeah.
It sounds completely different than what's.
When we go into We Were Looking for Ourselves, I mean, it sounds like that's probably the chorus, but.
Yeah, why couldn't it be the chorus and the thing was a post-chorus? How about that?
The structure of this one is a little bit. It's a little bit unusual, but yeah.
To me, it sounds like there's just different ways in which they have different sounds, 3 different ways, and they kind of repeat that in different spots. That's what it sounds like to me. And it's kind of cool. I like it.
When I'm recording downstairs, I usually have all this stuff right in front of me, but I had to go and get my liner notes. All right. So let me just look here. We've got
we have a verse. And freezer burned ice cream. That's a verse.
That's our verse.
A book and record love. We sat and read our. That
comes back to our second verse, and then what I call the pre-chorus, and that's when we get into the verse.
What? You think so?
So the part I'm calling part I'm calling a pre-chorus is my tongue inside her ear, my tongue inside her, that where it keeps repeating the very simple rhyme scheme, and not simple rhyme scheme, but it keeps repeating the rhyme scheme and has also changed the notes that are different.
Okay.
In the basement of her mother's house, where we once taped the first 3 sides of Sandinista for mine.
And so then after that, we go to a bridge. From there, a verse, a pre-chorus, a chorus, and a chorus.
That sounds about right.
There.
What do you think, Ali? Is he on track?
I'm just trying to follow along. Trying to write it down.
I don't know if I would say there's a distinct pattern to this one, though, as far as, like, first chorus.
Yeah, there's no real chorus. There's, if anything, I would say the chorus would be in the car towards the end. But that's not really a chorus either, because it only comes in at the end of the song. So it's kind of like...
Well, and that's one of the things that makes the song a little different is the chorus, as I'm calling it, the chorus, is different each time that they come back to it. And to the point that there's only 3 words that are the same, which is in the car. The music changes. It's definitely a musical change, and it's supposed to be a chorus. But only those 3 words are the same in the 2 different.
The distinct musical change happens on We Were Looking for Ourselves. That's where the music distinctly changes. Now, whether that's a chorus or a bridge can be debatable, but I kind of assumed that was the chorus myself. But I mean, but I can see where it sounds very bridgy as well. So, and bridgy might have just became the rating system. We'll see.
Yeah, I guess the closest thing I think would be the In the Car, but everyone's different.
Yeah, because that's where they say the In the Car. That sounds,
Yeah, but they're all different, but that's the one tying them all together.
But that's one of the things I like about this song is, and we'll get to the lyrics later on, but I like the fact that this is much more of a story than it is the typical song. Like, there is no chorus because it's telling a story through to through.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah.
Well, before we get to the lyrics, let's talk a little bit more about the music, though, because we're kind of we talked about the structure, but let's talk a little about the music. Here's the only things that I know about the music. It sounds like it's possibly in a minor chord, and I'm guessing that usually they start off with the chord that they're in. For the key, so I'm going to say it's probably in A minor since that's the chord that it starts off with.
I think you're definitely right there. Yeah, that starts in A minor. I think it ends in A minor. I would say that, yeah.
And so Jim is playing double bass on this one. This is one of those songs where Kevin, the new person to the band, is like all over this song because we have him on lead electric guitar, organ, and melodica. Then we have Ed on electric guitar and acoustic. We have Tyler on drums, and then all of the ladies together are on hand clap.
The guitar, which I'm assuming it's Kevin as lead guitar, the kind of surf style, like the 60s surf style, is probably one of my all-time favorite things about this song. I love that. It sets such a mood for the
It's almost Quentin Tarantino-esque.
Yeah, I can see this fitting into a Tarantino film.
And the bridge, the guitar solo after the first chorus / bridge, whatever we want to call it, that guitar solo is just killer. I love it.
And it's interesting because once again, we have a surfer feel song on this album. We just got done talking about I'll Be That Girl a few weeks ago. That also had a very surfer feel song to it. And then Susan Rogers was the one that told them to bump it up even more. I'm wondering how much Susan also influenced this song. We have no other versions of this song to compare it to, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like kind of the surf vibe, like the 60s. I call it like the 60s.
Yeah, I had a very God Only Knows type feel with this song.
Yeah. It's now that you say God Only Knows, again, it's kind of that cheerful, kind of almost wholesome music, and then
not wholesome lyrics.
Not wholesome at all.
Some like deep. Okay, no, the music, not the lyrics,
yes.
The music. Like because 60s music
it's definitely juxtapositioned.
Well, that's what I was trying to say is like it has that really like innocent sound. If you just listen to like the music, it's like kind of, and there's some songs on Pet Sounds that do that too. Now that you mentioned Good Vibrations, where they're really like, they sound really peppy, and they are, if you listen to the lyrics, anything but. So yeah, I think the juxtaposition is one thing that also helps. I mean, you could take the subject of this song, and in a different songwriter's hands, can be something decidedly not PG-13, but it's like it's tastefully done. I think that's what I'm trying to say. The music plays along with it.
Going off what Ali said, I mean, I wrote down the same thing essentially. That this is definitely their surf rockiest anthem. I mean, even more so than I'll Be That Girl. I mean, this is full on 60s surf rock, Beach Boys, Pet Sounds, and in this case especially, I think it really works. And I'm not sure why until we get to the lyrics. Maybe I'll think about that more, but. Just that classic feel to it. I have to agree. I mean, it feels very innocent when it starts out, very peppy. And I think the musical stylings of this one, I'm glad they amped it up because it definitely fits this song really well in an unusual sort of way. But that's very B&L.
Well, it's only 3 lines at the beginning where they're actually kind of G-rated. Immediately goes in. She lifted up her dress. At that moment, my attention was caught. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, what is this song about? Ooh, strawberries.
When we get to the lyrics, I will defend this and say it's probably more innocent than it sounds, but we'll get to that when we get there.
Okay. Well, hold on. We have a few more things to mention about the music, though. Because it's actually a little bit more complicated. And this is one of the songs I really wish we had Aaron on, because I really get the feeling that this is musically much more complicated than we give it credit for. But in terms of like while I was listening to it, and
oh no, I think it's really complicated actually.
Very, you can hear that it's very complicated.
It doesn't sound it naturally,
but
though.
layered.
It sounds like a very relaxed song, but it's very layered, like you were saying, Stefan.
Very layered.
And I think the other piece of that is, like, one of the things that's weird is we have Steven singing pretty much all by himself throughout the song.
Right, except for some harmonies.
And the only time that we really have, the only time we have harmonies come in is during the pre-chorus. Even when we come back to the chorus, there's not really harmonies. What they're doing is echoing Steve within the car and just continuing to repeat in the car behind him off beat, which is weird. Like, usually that's where you would have the harmonies coming in and really kind of blending it all in, and we don't. We have that during the pre-chorus.
Honestly, I have to say though, listening to this song, I don't know if harms anywhere else would really feel right. Even when you get to the chorus, pre-chorus, bridge, whatever we're calling that, when you get to where it hits the we were looking for ourselves and found each other in the car. I like to sing harms pretty much anytime I sing a song. Like if the song comes on, I try and sing harms to it. You can harm to that part, but I don't think it would work at all. I think keeping it pretty much solo vocal the entire way through with just the echoes, I think was a really good choice on their part. I think it works for that. It's very minimalist.
The part that they do the harms on is the part that gets monotonous, where it's very, very much like up, 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 down, up, 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 down, with the pattern of the notes. And it's the same notes over and over again for about 2 stanzas. But that's when they bring the harms in to really bring it to life.
Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, that part is where we get the harms.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, Steven's a genius. You'll hear me say it a million times, but that is just like, they went for a different thing than they normally would and made it a more interesting song because of it.
Yeah. I don't normally like music that shifts and goes all over the place like it does, with that level of complexity that's layered on top of one another, especially with 3 distinct styles that are kind of brought together for different parts of the song, repeated for different parts of it. But I really like this one. It kind of jives together.
The other thing I noticed this week is usually you have with the lead electric guitar or the lead acoustic or one of the lead instruments, you have them playing the melody behind the voice. So the voice and the melody are often synced up and kind of matching off each other. And what we have in this song, though, is I think if you they treat Steven's voice almost like a separate instrument, and all the other instruments behind it are supporting it, but we don't have any one musical instrument playing the melody that Steven's singing during this song, which I think makes it even more complex and interesting.
Right.
I agree.
Sorry, when I really like a song, I'm like, I'm going to tear this thing apart to find out why I love this thing so much.
That's all I got to say about that.
We all just want to get to the dirty lyrics, Tracy.
Okay, fine. Let's just get to the dirty lyrics.
Well,
who wants to start this discussion?
Ali wanted to tackle the lyrics. Knock it out of the park.
Yeah, I'll start. First off, I think that, like, what we were talking about with the surfer vibe, with that, whoever said that the first 3 lines had a more innocent meaning, the fed me strawberries, freezer burned egg. That, to me, with, like, that surf vibe, like, for whatever reason, when I think of, like, that 1960s, like, Beach Boys, Jan and Dean, I think of, like, a lot of, like, high schoolers, and, because a lot of the songs are about, especially, like, earlier Beach Boys are about rah-rah, be true to your school, hanging out with my friends down at the malt shop. And so that, to me, kind of, I don't know if that just puts me in a mindset to think of it in, like, a more innocent way. But, like, nothing, obviously not something innocent, but it's not something nearly as uninnocent as it seems. If that's the word, I think I just made a new word.
No, that's a really good point. Like, yeah, the song starts off with these really 3 simple chords, and then it kicks in with the lyrics, and the lyrics are very, very innocent sounding at first. And then we get to the 3rd line or the 4th line. And it's almost a shocker at that point.
But effectively a shocker, because when it boils down to it, I mean, this is a song of youthful, I think, a song of youthful experimentation. This is your first. I know I'm going to shock you, Stefan. This is to me that awkward first relationship that you have, or that high school relationship where you're kind of experimenting, but you're not quite there. And I think it works that there is, and I love Freezer Bird and Ice Cream. I'm not sure why he chose that sort of to fill the line, because that's a very specific reference to make. But yeah, it's innocent up till then. Then you get to she lifted up her dress, and you're like, I know exactly where this is going, and it doesn't go there. It's a tease song, which is what this song is about. It's about a tease in a way. I mean, it's about someone who wants something more, or 2 people that have talked about more, but they're not quite ready to pull that trigger, so to speak. And I think that it's something I really like. This is the 3rd bassiest song ever. The dry, humpiest song ever. I don't know. But but it's just that feeling, and I love it for that, because it's 2 people, and I mean that in a very innocent way. It's 2 people that are going to that point, experimenting, giving into some youthful feelings and everything, but they're not quite getting there. They can't quite pull that trigger, and in some sort of way, I think the singer, Steven in this case, I think there's a little bit of a bittersweetness there. Like, should I have held on to this? Should we have done this? Would it have been different? And I'm sure we'll get to this too. Obviously, years later, she's listening to this song in her car with her husband, and that's me. He's singing about me. And I think a lot of singers and songwriters feel that. I mean, we write songs about those early experiences, and I have, and I'm not probably never going to be on the radio or on a mixtape somewhere, but I think that's kind of funny that he has this idea that this song about these experiences might end up in the car with her husband somewhere, and I really love that aspect of this song.
See, I don't think, like you had mentioned, the idea that possibly this is about like that he's wishing that it had gone that next step. I get almost the feel with the song, I always have, that this is him looking back on the relationship and really looking at it with that sweet naivete and saying, those days when things were simpler, but not simple, when they were complicated by things that weren't that complicated. And he's looking back on it with this really sweet remembrance of not like, I wish things had been different or I wish things had gone and changed, but more like, this is a really sweet memory that I have that I'm sharing with everyone. And that's the feel I always got with this song.
I agree. I don't think it, at least for me, I've never read into any sort of bittersweet or wishing that it had been different or they had done more. Like, I thought it was very much an ode to kind of that self-discovery in more ways than one, but like that relationship that you need to have before you can really have a real relationship. And that actually, if I can move on to the next verse, is that okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because this is my favorite line of Book and Record Love. My absolute favorite line of the song. Because I think it's just...
Book and record love, sat and read our books.
I think it's a beautiful line. Just the way... it just resonates with me. And it also kind of makes me feel like, there's, always that person, at least like there was for me in high school, like that you develop this relationship with because you find out for the first time you share interests with someone. Someone likes the same things that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like this book and record love. So like imagining, after school, going and looking at, records or in bookshops or like, taping Three Sides of Sandinista on a tape recorder so you can listen to it in the car because you love it that much. So like it really has that like that kind of first love, and then realizing that there's someone out there that does like the same things. And, ultimately in the end, maybe it is a book and record love in the sense of that's all you have in common, but it kind of is that, oh, wait, I'm not the only one, like, and taking that step, like, into the world.
It's more like a platonic relationship where it's, at the end it says we were waiting for our lives to start their endings. It's like two people who had a lot more in common that kind of dappled with just having fun.
I don't see it as platonic just because, but I see that their love, whatever their relationship is driven by their love of what they have in common.
Right. That more like early relationship, first love of like, I now have someone out there that has similar interests to me and I really like them for it, but we're still not a good match, but like at the same time, very interested, very lustful, and also at the same time, very connected.
Right.
Well, and I think that's, I guess that's where I kind of said the whole bittersweet side, the whole life experiences part of it, is because, we've all had that, many of us have had that relationship where we had all the same interest. We loved all the same movies and the same music. I mean, we were taping the Clash's Sandinista and all that. But that wasn't enough to sustain a relationship. The physical component and having all the same interest wasn't enough. You move on, and eventually a lot of people get married and they find their lifelong partner and they're happy and they're perfectly happy. But maybe their lifelong partner doesn't share those interests. And I think there's always kind of that duality of life where we're like, it would be cool, to have that kind of relationship or that kind of aspect where we did like all the same stuff. I think that happens to a lot of relationships where the person that you ultimately end up with and you're happy with, and I'm not speaking for everyone, but might not always be the person that shared all those interests. So you do look back and you think about that. I mean, that's a very specific line to say, we taped the first three sides of Sandinista. And so I do feel like there's this little like, that was pretty cool. That was really cool that we liked that stuff, but it wasn't enough. So that's why I kind of feel there's maybe a little bittersweetness there. There's still that connectivity that he has with this person.
And I think it's also the fact that it talks about my tongue inside her ear, my tongue inside her in the basement. I see that look, Stefan. In the basement of her mother's house where we once taped the first three sides of Sandinista for my car, like connecting those two things because. And I think one thing that I've definitely noticed, even just from, because I've been attending all the live at home shows that Steven's doing, and I think they're on 23 or 24 now. He does playlists before the shows, and he really talks about like the music that inspires him and has inspired him. And he's talked about it before, like in the past, like music itself is really important to him. So I almost see this, like, if we're looking at this as kind of like, if we're going to take the tack, this is a storytelling song, looking at that as, this sweet love with finding something that you really love, something you're passionate about, outside of that person, but finding, that it's, like the first time you pick up a B&L record, like that first listening of Gordon, like having that kind of like, this is, the greatest thing or whatever, connecting those two things.
I'm also seeing memories come back for me in regards to courting different people and doing different things such as acting and, things with school and going over to a person's house to do something, but we had an interest, but there's that electricity of interest and desire to play, and to try to be intimate with one another, and it's very exciting to be in that kind of situation. And I can relate to going over to tape something, and it goes further, and it's more of like a way to get away from classmates and teachers and parents in order to have this one-on-one time with this person.
Yeah, but another thing about that is you have the compounded by our fear. And then one thing I noticed is that it's inside the basement of her mother's house, not parents' house, which is a really minor detail, but there's kind of this undercurrent of fear of growing up in the song, like the waiting for our live star endings, the fear, of kind of those, new things that scare you. But, then, if you think of mother's house, that typically means it's just her mother's house. So like maybe, knowing on the other side of the adulthood door, waits for you, heartbreak and divorce, or, some, those things that have real gravity and significance that still exist in your life as a kid, but not in the same way. Like, this is the only time you're going to have that innocence before you have to learn to deal with all of this for the rest of your life.
I think that was our mic drop moment of the episode right there.
Yeah.
That was the mic drop moment. That was good.
Oh, well,
no, I didn't even think about that, but you're right. The significance of just saying mothers. I mean, just after the whole fears and the experimentation aspect of it, yeah, you're thinking to yourself, I mean, there's a whole life of possible heartbreak and loss, and her mother potentially
dreams
herself and dreams, and that's that is really deep. That is awesome.
Which brings us to the third verse too,
where he dreams of sleeping with the mom. Yeah, let's talk about that.
Once again, we're back to the mother thing. Like, Freud would be all over this song, by the way. But yeah, like all of a sudden, like, we have him coming back to her mother again, but this time in a much more sexual way.
It's kind of like that
Stacy's mom,
Mrs. Robinson. I was just going to say
Stacy. This is the B&L Stacy's mom song.
I think this is better than Stacy's mom personally, but for each their own.
That's a tricky one. I'm a huge Fountains of Wayne fan, so I mean, I do love.
I was gonna say, if you haven't heard their other stuff besides Stacy Mom, it's really good.
If Welcome Interstate Managers, the album that's on, is probably one of the most perfect albums ever made.
Yes, I love that. And I recently learned that Adam Schlesinger wrote That Thing You Do.
Oh yeah,
from the movie, which is, I mean, why it's amazing. But that was
and he wrote a lot of the stuff for My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Yeah, and he was working on a musical based on The Nanny.
I would recommend, I know we're a B&L podcast, but if you've never given Fountains of Wayne or Adam Schlesinger a chance outside of Stacy's mom, stop what you're doing and go do it. I would say go listen to Welcome Interstate Managers, the entire album. It is an absolutely gorgeous, amazing album.
So I'm going to bring us back in a different direction with a different band. Can you guys talk about Sandinista? Like, for a long time, that one, like, I was like, what? Why is he talking about, like, this Nicaraguan government? And then didn't know what he was really talking about with Sandinista. I was out of the loop.
It's a Clash album, and it's a triple album, so there's 3 sides, is what he's referring to.
And it's
6 sides.
And it's like...
Well, 6 sides, but but there's three parts to the album, but yeah.
And it's like their white album. Or like it's their masterpiece.
Well, and reading the information for this week, it came out 3 days after John Lennon's death. Like, what a time! Like,
I didn't know that.
But like, an amazing coincidence of timing, like, for that to happen, because once again, it was their white album in a lot of ways.
Well, it was a quintessential kind of punk album, and I do picture, the punk late 70s, early 80s kids and that lifestyle, that rebellious lifestyle and everything. I mean, I know I was a little early for that. I was born in 76, but I gravitated towards punk myself, and it makes me think of thinking of concept albums, but like Green Day's 21st Century Breakdown talks about that whole punk relationship where it's a little more rebellious, it's a little more anti-authoritarian, and I kind of picture that in this too. I mean, when you grow up, you get older, sometimes your values and your views change about the world, and you kind of give up that side of you. But as a teenager, and if that's your life, there's still a part of your soul there. There's still a part of you that remembers that that rebellious phase and that relationship and that love that you had at that time. And I think that's why the Sandinista is in there, and it's a really important reference because for anyone growing up in that time, the Clash was a rallying cry. That was their anthems.
So I want to bring up another intriguing thing. We have the beginning of the song starts with an ending. Like literally the beginning of the song, we're talking about the end of their relationship. Because he starts with, I guess, I said goodbye, I guess. And then she goes and lifts up her dress, so he decides to stick around for the rest of the night. It worked. We made it one more time. One more time.
Speaking of Maroon 5 songs.
I mean, it's a pretty common experience that people have of that one last time experience. But it's interesting because they didn't ever have sex. So once again, it's just the one more time of making out and doing probably other things at that point.
Well, it says mostly mutual masturbation.
But mostly, yeah.
But
can I put out something really weird? He went to this house knowing that he was going to break up with her. Pretty good idea that he probably was going to break up with her. And she's sitting there feeding him strawberries and freezer burned ice cream. And he's just like, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, well, and then he was going to break up with her anyways until she lifted up her dress. And then he's still planning on breaking up with her. Like, weirdest breakup ever.
I don't think so. That's real, though. I think this is there's such accurate and real lyrics because I think that's common. I mean, you're in that mood, you don't quite want to break away, and like I said, my favorite line of this whole song is "We were groping for excuses not to be alone anymore." I mean, that whole thing. We were looking for
wonderful
ourselves.
Wordplay right there.
We found each other in the car. We were groping for excuses, which I love that line so much. Because it's a double entendre, and not to be alone anymore. I do think there was that feeling of, when you end a relationship, it's hard on everybody. Even if you think that you're the solid one, I'm going to end this, I'm going to move on. There's still that doubt that comes with it. I mean, 2 weeks later, you're sitting up at 3 a.m. and you're holding the phone in your hand, and you're like, what did I do? That was dumb. I got a call, And I think that there's that aspect of it. I love that part of it. I mean, I know I've been there, on the receiving end, on the other end of it, where you're going to end the relationship. It's going to be over. You got to move on. Clearly this isn't working, but those doubts are going to kick in. And, the temptations. I had somebody, we had this physical attraction. We loved all the same stuff. What am I doing? And I love that aspect of this song.
The thing here is that I think we're assuming that she didn't want to break up. The fact he said goodbye, I guess, makes me think that they already broke up. And, there are people out there that are like, oh, well, let's do it one last time. And especially if there's not like a huge emotional attachment, maybe dated for like a month or two, high school, you're like, yeah, it's kind of run its course. And then, she left, so I must confess, one more time before I left for good. And so that to me doesn't seem like, it seems like that was, for lack of a better word, in good faith on both their parts, so they both knew that.
Well, it comes back to that experience of on again, off again, because even as he says, like, she thought that we were gonna get back together. Which next line, like I'm like, this is the what the hell line of the song, like, but I wouldn't want to be like other guys.
Right.
Wait a minute, how is that not like other guys to break it off and have one last time?
No, coming back, I think, is what he means by that.
Yeah.
Other guys will keep coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, and, honestly, I knew people in high school that were like on and off and on and off, and it was like you never knew what, they just whatever. And I think this kind of speaks to that kind of like youthful phenomenon. Like, pride doesn't really play in a part yet. It's not that I'm too prideful to go back to them, or I'm full of shame going back to my ex, or like, it's just, that's just what they do because that's what they feel like. Because they're just, and not that they don't care, but like, it's like this it's a less mature love in almost a good way. Like, it doesn't have all those like trappings of like pridefulness and like, stubbornness. Some, obviously not every case, but that's what I kind of see it as, is like, a lot of boyfriends, kind of like an on again, off again. But he's saying he's not going to do that because he doesn't want to be like the other guys.
I think it's a very mature view of their early immature kind of relationship. And I know from my experience being in high school about the, just as you're breaking up with somebody, if you've been intimate with that person and, then all of a sudden the motor starts running, it's there. And, why not, but it's got a different underlying current to it. It's more like it's a way of saying goodbye in a way, rather than just goodbye, I guess. It's like there's something more there. There are feelings that are there, but it's harder to process. So sometimes physicality is a way in which you can convey all that stuff without saying anything, and it can be communicated a lot better, especially as teenagers. I couldn't say anything. I wouldn't know what to say.
Right. And it's kind of like, I guess, like, I've never broken up with someone before. Is this what we're supposed to do? Mm-hmm. Like, I guess this is how it works. So there's that too.
All right. Well,
goodbye, I guess.
Goodbye, I guess. Do I just leave?
What?
Oh.
Okay.
Actually, I like it's goodbye, I guess.
We cool?
I don't want to.
Yeah, I'm gonna
I don't want
to
seem like other guys and come back to you.
But it does.
But I am going to seem like another guy and fool around last time.
I'm good with cutting things off. Just don't do anything crazy like, I don't know, lifting up your dress or anything like that. That's
right. Yeah.
Because then I might doubt things.
I will say that both with this, the freezer burn detail and the Sandinista detail, like, I love, and you see that a lot across his lyrics, but like, I love those little descriptive pieces that just kind of draw you back into like, this is like a real story, or in when you're listening to this is the story for this narrator.
From the storytelling element, it shows how much this moment impacted him, because all those little tiny memories are still there, things that might otherwise be forgotten. I mean, it was freezer burned ice cream, we were taping 3 sides of Sandinista. I mean, that still sticks in his head to this day.
It was memorable.
I want to come back to the line that you were talking about earlier, Stefan. We were waiting for our lives to start their endings. And I gotta say, like, that is a very teenage view of like the rest of your life. Like, that's like, okay, once I get married, that's like, the start of my ending. Like, I'm waiting for that to start so that way the end of my life can go. Like, that's a very teenage view of
I'm
that.
thinking graduation. I'm thinking just graduation.
Yeah.
They're seniors or something.
Yeah, I can see that too. Like, but that, like, once again, it's that, like, that's how we, in that time of our life, at least I know for myself and a lot of other people I've talked to, like, that was the view of how life was like, The good part of life is behind us once this happens.
I think it's also like that. The whole, like, the world's your oyster, so to speak. You know, you're young, you graduate or whatever, you're done with school, you're out in the world, whatever that path may be. And then you're like, okay, it's time for me to live out my dreams or blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of that common sense reality that's like, once it starts, it ends, which obviously it's already started. But like, I have like one chance to like get this right. But one thing I wanted to ask you guys what you thought about is that in that, I don't know, that would be kind of that first chorus. And though we spoke of penetration, I'd have to wait for someone else to try it out rather than like, it seems like he's referring singular to him.
She didn't want to go all the way.
Right. But it sounds like it's only him waiting to try it out. Like, maybe that's not a new experience.
Yeah.
She may have been more experienced than him.
Because, you know, because everything else, you know, we were looking for ourselves. You know, there's a lot of we, and then, you know, though we spoke of, you know, I'd have to wait.
That's actually an amazing point because, we get all these we's, and that's the I line in the whole song.
I don't know about you guys, but I mean, when I was in high school, that's where most of the fooling around happened. When you were with a girlfriend or whatnot, you'd go in a car and do stuff. So this part of the song really gives me visualization of those experiences with girlfriends at the time. It's like I see it as, you know, you guys are enjoying one another, but for some reason or another, whether you wanted to wait for the right person or it didn't, you know, or the attraction wasn't there enough to have penetration, or it was just a no, or whatever the situation is, you know, it was discussed and nothing was really solidified to the point where, hey, yeah, let's make this happen. So, I mean, I visualize that because I can most definitely relate to that. That's probably a little bit too much for our listeners to hear, but I mean, there's this song really does resonate with me on a personal level.
Ali, I love your point, and as Stefan was talking, I was listening, but also looking through the lyrics, and you are absolutely right, because up until this point in the song, there's a lot of we's. He's very focused on the we, and that it's a very mutual thing throughout this song. And the line just before it is, we had, like you said, though we had spoke of penetration, I'd have to wait for someone else to try it out. Like, yeah, like he's a virgin in the song, but we don't necessarily know that she is, and it's almost implying that she's not.
And then the very last line, it's almost like he's defending not going all the way with her in a way.
I don't know if I quite get that, though, because the next thing, I mean, you're absolutely right that it's we all the way up until that point, but the very next sequence is the section where, and this is, you know, to me, very interesting that he pointed this out, but he goes, once I had the dream where I slept with her mom. And that, to me, kind of implies that he was hoping that he was with someone that was older or more experienced, because then maybe he would have gotten that experience.
Plus, it would also sound really weird. It's like, once we had this dream where we slept with your mom.
Well, yeah.
That would be kind of weird, Jeff, you know? There's a point where it has to be I.
Well, no, but I think it's a weird line to put unless there's a big reason for putting that in there. You know, why would you admit to someone, anybody, that you had a dream of sleeping with their mom? And I feel like that's where you as a teenager are saying, and it could just be a youthful crush, that kind of thing. But, you know, if you had been your mom, I probably this would have happened.
It's a full disclosure.
See,
it's writing a song.
This is a very, I'm putting everything out there on the table song.
Yeah, and it's a very open song, and I think that's another reason I love it so much. But.
I mean, the thing about the I, and, you know, obviously you're saying, Stefan, like, you wouldn't say once we had this dream, but that's exactly it. The things that are singular to him,
Correct.
he is saying I. Once I had this
Right.
dream where I slept with Mom, I'd have to wait. And then when it's her with the tape, she says, I think that's me. And the thing about the dream, that's kind of a trope, through like teenage movies. Guy dreams about, girlfriend's mom or, hot mom, a friend, and then, has this dream. It's like, oh God, what do I do? So it's kind of like a teenage trope. So I personally don't read too much into that, except it's like, well, I thought I should throw that in there. It's kind of interesting, but
yes, but overreading into songs is what I do.
yeah, exactly.
That's kind of a thing.
Hey, it's okay. You can see I do the same
Well,
thing.
speaking of overreading into the songs, let's take that last line. We were never making love. Like, a lot of people assume, like, well, are we talking about the physical act here, which he's been talking about all song? Or are we talking about the fact that they were never in love in the emotional sense? That, like, they had lust, they were interest?
I go with the latter. On this.
Wow, I'm surprised about you, Jeff.
I go for both.
I thought you would really like this line because of
I do love this
the
line.
different nuances of it and the truth of any way you look at it. They weren't making love, and they weren't in love, and it just is really well worded. So I thought that would really hit your wording button.
That's what I meant by the latter. I do feel like it's a double meaning. I think they were never making love. They were never making a relationship. It was never going to happen. Yes, it was meant to be, I think, literal. We weren't making love in the car, but I think it wraps up the whole song in that this was never going to work out. It was never going to be a solid relationship. So we were never making love. They were never making love out of nothing at all, as they're
Wait. What do you think, Ali?
Well, I take it in both ways too.
Really?
And it also, yeah. So I take it that they weren't literally making that.
Continue.
Without having the video element, this might confuse people. But but if you notice, he talks about, when he says, and though we spoke of penetration, which is very like cold and almost clinical, and then at the end it's making love. Like, that's, to me, that that has a deeper meaning than just that, because he doesn't use that phrasing anywhere else in the song.
Almost regretful?
I don't think regretful. I think it just sums up more than just
recapping. Yeah.
Like, it's love for themselves. Love for, that act of, like, making love when you love someone and making that commitment. Mm-hmm. One thing I do want to go back to, I don't know if I don't want to derail us, but I want to talk about
please
the
derail us.
tape
That's what we do.
So the tape, I think that's such a neat little detail that the tape inside her car, it again doesn't really fit with, it's kind of that, like, half of that is that dream part and half of that is that tape.
You're going to steal my thunder right now, aren't you? I had a whole thing all lined up for this, but never mind.
You had your chance, pal.
I don't know if I'm going to.
I had my chance. Go ahead.
I may not.
Steal his thunder, Ali.
I may disappoint you. Hold out for that. But, like, it kind of in the interest of, like, full disclosure. Like, I had this dream about her mom, and then I wrote this song about her. And that actually, it reminds me of some of, the later songs, like, for instance, Running Out of Ink. Jumping way ahead in the future to Blam. But, like, that Running Out of Ink is all about basically mining your life for art. And this is, like, just an early example of that, which is a pretty common theme that goes through his lyrics about that, like, using your life as your art and having that, like, is it a higher devotion to the artist or a higher devotion to the subject? But then the other thing that I randomly thought of when I read this was that then in Testing 1 2 3, which I know is an Ed song, but he mentions songs in the glove compartment of her car, and he says, I actually had to pull it up. In her glove compartment are my songs. She hasn't even heard them. Since she found out what the words meant, she decided she preferred them all wrong. Which to me kind of was like, almost made me think, well, in this song, she just realizes, I think that's me. And then, a couple years down the line, we have she preferred them all wrong. Obviously, two different lyricists. But
that's nice. I like that. Yeah, like she preferred it before she realized the song was about her.
Did I steal your thunder, Jeff?
Well, no. I mean, no, that's fine. I guess my thought when I heard it was, my first thought when I heard tape was like a mixtape. Like this was a mixtape that he had given her, because that was, a big thing. We gave the people that we had the mad crushes on, that we were in love with, we made them those mixtapes of all those great songs. And I thought about the tape line, and I'm thinking to myself, this isn't radio. He didn't say she heard it on the radio. A Toby Keith or Avril Lavigne, Skater Boy kind of thing, where now I'm big and famous on the radio.
I was thinking about that.
And tape, and I'm even thinking, like, is this a song he stuck on to that Sandinista tape? Is this on the same tape? Was this a tape he made for her? Why, if she's married and she doesn't still herself think back to this, why is she listening to the tape that he made in her car? That's where I went with this. Like she herself is maybe either it's his own preconceived notion that maybe she's having the same feelings every once in a while, or the same nostalgia, or she actually is doing it. It sounds to me like she's still putting this tape in, even while she's happily married, and sometimes still listens back, and she's like, "Yeah, I remember that too. I remember the freezer burn ice cream," and that's kind of where I went to this. That's why I kind of had the whole bittersweet thing still.
Well, you're wrong.
I might be wrong.
To me, I feel like unless she hears the song, like on his album,
right,
that's now.
Which back then you didn't listen to albums so much as
on Stunt
tapes.
Yeah, like she has this came out in 98.
It's the era.
And yeah, I mean 96, 98, people still had plenty of cassettes.
In the car.
She basically was like, "Oh, I went to high school with this guy. Yeah, we dated a bit. Like I bought his album. Like how
our
crazy."
Relationship. Wait, what?
Yeah. That's kind of how I took it. Was like this discovery on this album.
All this time, she never knew that he had a dream about her mom, and now she's like, "Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay."
Shocking. What? I'm glad I'm married.
She's like, this is awkward.
That's probably what she's thinking.
I married this one instead of that one.
I know.
Well, I think that, honestly, I think the married, I know you guys were joking, but I honestly think the marriage part is to show how much time has passed.
Yes.
Right.
Like, how much they're moved on. Like, there's no, like, wistful, like, I wish we were still together, or I miss you. Like, it's like that wistful, like, I miss that time frame, but not like the person. Like, she's married, he has this career, he's writing this song about her. So it's just I think that's just a good kind of showing a passage of time, personally.
I concur.
So I'm going to ask you guys, do any of you have a problem with this song? Because I will tell you right up in front, I don't have any trouble with this song. Like, I have nothing I can bring up.
There's no trouble with Tracy tonight?
Like, I couldn't even create one out of thin air for this week.
Really? Not even about freezer burned ice cream? I mean, ice cream's great, but freezer burned? That's a bit disappointing.
No, because I love the specificity, the detail of that line.
I love it that he'll do that.
I'm not talking about the line. I'm talking about freezer burned ice cream.
No, I don't like freezer burned ice cream, but I love the fact that he remembers
of the ice cream. And then it's like, still tastes a little different.
It's a lot of
tastes
work.
Like freezer.
It's a lot of work. It's easier just to buy new one. New
exactly. See, Allie's picking up on what I'm putting down.
But it's a great metaphor that this was good, but it wasn't perfect. This relationship was good, but it wasn't perfect.
The strawberries seemed okay, though. There was nothing about that.
No, they were good.
Well, that's why it's good. It just wasn't perfect.
So
they weren't
strawberries
frozen.
So, I'm gonna go off on a slight tangent here. So, this actually, I had a good friend in high school, and her house was the type of house like that. Her parents would buy like groceries at like a day at a time, like not for any other reason than they were just like that, those kind of people that don't have a whole like pantry brimming with food. So they'd go out to the store and like you'd go over to her house, and she was this kind of like, they were all like these kind of like free spirits. So you'd go over and there'd be like a jar of mustard and like some olives and like some like breadstick crackers. And I'd be like, meanwhile, I'm here and I'm like, I am starving. Like her parents might be out of town for, 2 days. And she's like, yeah, no, I just didn't buy any food. And so it would always be like finding the little, like what was left. And it just made me think of it. Like they go together fine, but like there's some strawberries and then there's some freezer burnt ice cream. So we're going to have to take what we can.
It's whatever's left.
Yeah, exactly. It's
trying
what
to
I
be
had
romantic,
to offer.
but here's what we have left.
I love my freezer burnt ice cream covered in mustard. That's the way I take it.
Do you think that would be those would be items found in her mother's house if they're divorced and she doesn't have a lot of people eating the food?
Yeah, I mean, I think strawberries and ice cream are pretty common items that you'd find in a lot of people's houses, depending on the time of year. But, I mean, they're good.
They obviously don't eat ice cream very often.
Unless you're allergic.
Who's that, me?
Yeah, they probably do what I do and buy ice cream and forget about it.
And we know that it wasn't if I had a million flavors.
If I had a million flavors.
That wasn't out yet by the time
I wouldn't be singing the song.
2 weeks in a row we've now talked about ice cream. I'm getting hungry here, guys.
Sorry.
Tracy, you shouldn't have any ice
Is
cream.
there fun coming?
No pun warning.
I sense a pun.
So, one other thing. So, I have been trying for weeks to find information on this, and maybe some of your listeners have also read it. So, when I was in high school, probably would have been about 2004, I went to, for those of you who don't know, New England is big on those like odd lot stores, like Martin's or Building 19, that was down in Massachusetts. Totally random. And I was in there and I happened upon this book that was a book of like essays, like very short, like 1 or 2 page essays about music. And one was Stephen Page, and he was talking about In the Car specifically. And I remember because I bought it, obviously, and I read it. And I cannot for the life of me find anything. I remember kind of like talking about like the dreamlight state of the, like surfer music. And I don't really remember anything else beyond that and what it was about and like what the cover looked like. It was like white, an orange cover. I'm thinking it was maybe an anthology for like some music charity. I don't think it was aimed at teens, but like I have been trying my darndest to find this.
You might have to use the Google.
That has something about In the Car. I did. I used all the Google.
Were there any other
hard.
You used all the Googles.
All the Googles.
That's impressive.
All the Googles. All the Firefoxes.
All the Googles.
Web crawlers.
Even through an Opera.
All the Bings.
The Bings. No, I did not use Bing. No one uses Bing.
No, were there any other like
when you're scraping the
insightful things in there, like insightful components, like songwriters talking about their songs?
Bing is only for Christmas music.
Yeah, so it was. It was. It was like all these different artists. So it was like 20 different artists, and they were all like one or two pages. And I really wanted to find it and read it for this episode, but I'm starting to feel like it doesn't exist, even though I know.
Did you Mandela affect this book?
I may have Mandela affected this book. It's very specific, not very good Mandela effect, because I can't really remember what the essay was about. Yeah. So if anybody knows what I'm talking about, let someone know somehow, or just think to yourself.
Yes, reach out, tell us, and I'll make sure we get this information.
I'm gonna look for this now.
We will get this information back to Ali.
I was going through the internet, and it was driving me crazy because I was like, this is the perfect thing to read to talk about. But so, yeah, that's my sad story.
I don't think you needed it though. I think your interpretation was probably better than what Steven had to say.
Thank you.
You know the song better than he does.
Ooh.
So first you insulted her and picked on her, and now you're back.
When did I insult her? I did not insult her.
Oh no, ask her.
You gave her a hard time about the whole Google thing.
But I did use all the Googles. I used every Google I could find.
You did use all the Googles. Stefan's job is to see how much of a hard time he can give everyone on the show. Doesn't matter who it is.
You're part of the family if I give you a hard time.
All right, guys. Anyone else have any more to say about this song? All right, let's flip over to ratings. Jeff, will you take it away?
I'm gonna stick with what I originally said because I didn't come up with much else since then. So I like that we were throwing around the word bridges. So I'm gonna go with bridges. And so
no strawberries.
No strawberries. That's too easy. It's like the first line of the song.
Penetrations.
No, we're not doing. We're not.
Oh, no.
We're not talking about how many penetrations we've had.
No.
The song covered that enough.
Okay.
We will leave our penetrations out of this.
Just throwing it out there.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead, Jeff. Take
Put
it
it
away.
all in.
Whoa, now.
So this is.
How many bridges?
This will be on a scale of 0 to 5
Ali
bridges.
is never coming back.
No. 0 to 5. I thought we were actually very clean and innocent tonight.
We did well. Well,
0 to
High five.
We were more clean and innocent than the song was.
Right, yeah, we've
this.
been far worse on far more innocent songs, but
yeah, we were respectful.
yeah, 0 to 5 bridges, and I'm gonna toss it over to Ali.
0 to 5 bridges. I'm gonna give this 5 bridges. I think this is. I can't find anything that I would improve on, and I think the lyrics are really well done, and I love the surf guitar.
Excellent.
Nice. Stefan.
Well, Jeff, let me tell you, I like the song. I like, even though it's a borderline chaotic for me, but I still like the complexity. I like the how they kept 3 simple different sounds going through it. I liked it, and so I'm going to rate it. Gosh, I forgot what I was going to rate it. I completely blanked out on that. Well, I'm going to say
0 to 5.
Okay, so 0 to 5.
Not many numbers in the middle there.
But that's, there's infinite possibilities. I mean, I could go like
There's an infinitude.
Yeah, there's decimals and.
Yeah, I mean, how many decimal places do you need me to go? I mean, but I think a 4.6 would be adequate for this song. It was a good song, really good song.
4.6 bridges.
Yeah.
Okay.
The lyrics was great. The
All
music was great. I think everything was really good on it.
Nice. All right, I'm gonna go next, and we'll send it back to the host, the main host, the big honcho, the big cheese. Next. So this was a very fun episode for me in a lot of ways because I'm usually the overanalyzer of lyrics, and I don't usually get any kickback on my lyrics. And Ali stood toe to toe to me, and that was really cool, by the way.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Stefan and I are totally insulted at this point. Thank
No,
you.
half the time I don't even know what he's talking about. So I mean, it's pretty good.
Oh, we need to have Ali back more often. No. No, I'm kidding.
I will not complain.
I concur.
No, that said though, I absolutely love this song for all the reasons that we've already talked about. I love the surf style of the music. I think it fits the song perfectly. The detail in the song and how much there's like a youthful teenage nostalgia to it, and that recall, even if he's moved on, even if it's not a regretful song, he still clearly remembers this very vividly, and it's impacted him. And I think there's a lot of people that can relate to this experience in this song. Lyrically, there's some really great, catchy parts in here. And like I said, we were groping for excuses not to be alone anymore. One of my favorite lines, I think, B&L ever wrote, or Stephen Page specifically. I get nothing wrong with this song. I think it's the closest to perfect they've come, if not perfect. And they hit that element a lot. I'm giving this one a 5.
I struggled with this one, I'll be honest. I love this song. I love the innuendo. I love the straightforwardness at points, the details that he puts in. But I also love the naivete that goes with this song and looking back upon that with a positive rose-colored glasses. I will say this is probably one of the lowest ones for me on Stunt, but that says, I think, more about Stunt than it does about this song itself. I struggled with where to put this week and really looked at a lot of songs, and I kind of landed upon 4.5. I think this is definitely a 4.5 for me.
So I have to ask, what's your...
Which, if this is one of the lowest on this album...
That goes to say how good Stunt is right there.
So I have to ask, what's the ultimate? What's number 1, 5 out of 5 for you?
For me?
Yeah, for on Stunt.
You gave Alcohol a 5, didn't you?
Oh, no. On Stunt, Alcohol is definitely a 5 for me. And I think we'll actually come to a few more that might be up there. I haven't yet looked totally...
I definitely have another 5 on Stunt.
Analytically at all the songs yet, but
we've got a long way to go for that one.
It's When You Dream, isn't it?
It is When You Dream. Yeah, When You Dream is a 5. I'm just telling you all now. I love When You Dream.
So, I don't know if any of you have been watching the live at home shows, but there was one where Steven's son Isaac was visiting, and they played that together.
When You Dream?
I highly recommend if you can find. Yeah, When You Dream.
Oh my god.
And he was talking about how he wrote it for Isaac, and then Isaac played on it with him. And it was really beautiful.
Yeah.
Which is, you'll have to come back for that one and give us the story.
That was one of my lullabies for my kids.
Episode.
I used to sing that to them at night, and I just love that song so much. Yeah.
It's a beautiful song. There's, like you said...
We have several years.
Yeah, it's going to be...
So the appearance this week, I was able to find an apropos one that I've been holding on to for years. I've been actually looking forward to giving this appearance. B&L in 2006 appeared on the, let me get it correctly here, the Chevy Rock and Roll 400 race.
Oh my god, really?
For NASCAR. And they had their own stock car. They had their own NASCAR. Their faces were painted on the sides of the car. Number 29, Harvick.
I'm going to have to look that up.
And actually, you don't have to look it up because I already have it for everyone that wants to see it. Before the race, they performed at the Richmond International Raceway. This was just before Army versions. So September 9th, 2006. So at the 15-minute and 45 mark, you can see Ed is actually riding in a really fast car, like on I Don't Like, where he says he's ridden in a really fast car. This is when he's done that. He actually rode in one of the stock cars around the racetrack very, very fast and interviewed with the other guys while they were doing it. It's actually a really funny interview, so go out there. But Jim's not in the pit for some reason. And I thought maybe he couldn't make it that weekend. But then if you go to the 22-minute mark, they do the national anthem, and Jim is there for the national anthem. And they had a whole concert prior to the race at the start and finish line. Unfortunately, I can't find a video of that concert, but we have the rest of that. I know it's sacrilegious for me to say this. I'm not a NASCAR fan. But, so that if there are more appearances that haven't happened in that 3.5 hour telecast, you can let me know later and I'll put it back up there. But I do want to point out the car that won that race was the Bare Naked Ladies stock car.
Woo!
First place.
Hell yeah.
It's all been won.
What? No kidding.
I am also not a NASCAR fan. That'd be...
In that car.
I was making a joke at the very beginning during the interview. He's like, we're going to bring this guy lots of luck tonight. And yes, sir, he won.
That might be the only way you can get me to watch NASCAR.
It's all been one.
I'd be like, okay.
So, Ali, where can people find more of you?
Where can people find more of me? Well, I'm on Twitter, twitter.com/pop, POP_anthro, ANTHRO. And I am one of the moderators of the official Stephen Page Discord. You can find us over on Discord. The link can be found on Stephen's website, or feel free to reach out to me. Otherwise, I am just here, there, and everywhere. And I am the pop culture anthropologist. Oh, and check out I do have a couple of YouTube videos up to some lyric videos.
What? Lyric videos?
And I'm going to get you that website.
Will you send that to us and we will put that up?
Yes, and I am the pop culture anthropologist on YouTube. And right now, my channel's just starting. There will be lots more on there, but right now we have some kinetic letterpress featuring Steven's Isolation and the Explorers Club song that he did with them.
Nice.
Oh yeah, pop culture anthropologist right there. There we go.
We need someone to pick up Victor Sherb's the gauntlet that he was putting down for everyone before, unfortunately, he passed away. We need more Bare Naked Ladies videos made by people, so thank you for doing that, Ali.
Oh, well, my pleasure. Thank you for watching them, everyone who watches them. That makes me very excited.
Subscribed, Ali. I have subscribed. I said I subscribed.
What was that?
I have a secret, guys.
What's your secret, Tracy?
All I want to do is brush your teeth. Wait, I mean my teeth. I'm tired. I'm sorry. I mean, why would anyone ever say, I want to brush your teeth? Well, I guess we can discuss that next week with next week's song. Next week we're going to just...
Was it in the bathroom?
No, it's in the drink.
In the drink. You did say that alcohol was a high-ranking song for you, so that's understandable.
I will say, speaking of bathrooms, this is kind of like the bathroom sessions.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Ali. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks, Ali.
Thank you, Ali.
Yeah, thanks, guys. A lot of fun. Great to be here. I look forward to coming back.
I believe we already have the next song already lined up.
In the drink.
No.
You don't want to do in the drink?
No.
I'm good. I'll pass. Thanks.
No. We're not torturing Ali with that.
Wait, do we have that option too, or?
No, you don't. No. You must come back.
Thanks, that was fun. Don't forget, no regrets, except maybe one.
To celebrate joining Pantheon Podcasts, Rock Camp, the podcast, the official podcast of Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, is giving away a guitar signed by Mike Portnoy of Dream Theater, Marty Friedman, formerly of Megadeth, and legendary shredder Zakk Wylde, plus our rockstar counselors like Vinny Appice, Monty Pittman, and more. To enter to win, simply follow, rate, and review our podcast on your preferred platform, and that's all you have to do. For more information, go to rockcamp.com/podcast.